Hello, everyone. My name is Landry Woodrum. I'm a 4-H member from Boyle County in District 4 and a member of the State Team Council. Today, I had the great pleasure of getting to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects at the request of Dr. Noble, parliamentary procedure. Dr. Noble asked me to give a short, basics, survival of a business meeting guide for Parley Pro. So first, let's see here. A little bit about me. I'm a lifelong 4-H member in Boyle County. I'm a member of and the unofficial parliamentarian, I like to think, of the State Team Council. And last year, I was a member of the state champion FFA Senior Parliamentary Procedure Team at the 2019 State Convention, something that I'm really proud of, and I really loved being on that team. So first, we need to ask ourselves a question. What is parliamentary procedure, or Parley Pro? So what is Parley? Parliamentary procedure is a series of rules used to organize business meetings. They originated in the British Parliament as the unspoken rules abided by to be productive, and they were first written down in the 1500s, which is a long time ago. The most common current guide is Robert's Rules of Order, which is around 400 pages long. I have teammates that went on to the national competition that had to read that front to back. I would skip it. And that guy right there is Robert, the guy that wrote the original Robert's Rules of Order. He's long gone now, though, but his family is still keeping up the writing. And that is the English Parliament down there in the bottom, the group that established these rules. So we're going to go over the basics today. Parley is very complex, and I'm going to warn you all that the lessons that I'm going to give you all right now, even though they are surface level and skimming, are going to be very dense, and you need to be ready for that. So we're going to go over starting a meeting, motions, discussion, amendments, previous question, voting, ending a meeting, and how to implement parliamentary procedure in your 4-H club. First of all, we're going to go over starting a meeting. This is the very beginning of any sort of act of parliamentary procedure. A meeting is begun by your presiding officer, or chair, as they're called, using a gavel, which can be a hammer. You can use your fist informally. But you need something to signify the beginning of the meeting. One gavel tap means the meeting room will come to order and makes everybody be quiet. And two taps together symbolize the beginning of the meeting. Now, this is more procedural, but it makes it feel official and will get your members to listen and be productive. Then, before the beginning of business, your presiding officer should lead the pledges and do any other welcoming addresses. So a lot of people will do prayers, or if they have speaking parts, you'll do this, or maybe a welcome to the meeting. You'll do that before you start official business. You need to get all those formalities out of the way before you get to work. When it's time to talk business, your PO should say, "Is there any new business?" or some other form of that. And that is opening the floor, really. And the floor is the area of discussion for your parliamentary procedure. So the first thing we need to talk about after starting a meeting is main motions. This is the most important thing you're going to walk away with today. The main motion is the engine of your parliamentary train. An example could be, I move to hold a fundraiser. Any action that you want your group to do, you take in the form of a main motion. So first you gain chair recognition. You might stand, you might just say Madam or Mr. Chair, and the chair will recognize you. That keeps people from talking over each other. You have to gain chair recognition before you talk. After you state your point, so I might say, Mr. President, I gain recognition. I say, I move to hold a fundraiser. My motion requires a second, which is like an affirmation by another member of the meeting, which can be called out loud without recognition. So I might say second to somebody else's motion just to show that another person is supporting it and that we can move on to discussing it. If there is no second, the motion can't move on because it means you're the only person that wants it to happen. So, and also only one main motion can be on the floor at once in order to prevent confusion. Discussion. Deliberation, or working things out, is the whole point of parliamentary procedure. In order to share your thoughts on a motion, you have to gain chair recognition, like I said earlier. Then you can talk for as long as your group allows. FFA only allows 10-minute discussions, but other groups have different rules. In your discussion, you need to keep your speeches formal, pointful, and avoid slang or personal attacks, which are rules that have been in the English parliamentary law for 500 years. So this is a formal speech. You're getting up and saying why people should support the motion or why they should fail it. Discussion is very important, and it's often ignored, and especially, in bodies where you sit for a long time and people are talking and people don't want to participate. Discuss. It's your right in a parliamentary meeting. Amendments. Not every motion is perfect on the first go-round. This is where amendments come in. So I might say, I move to amend the motion by adding the words on May 15th to that motion about the fundraiser earlier. Amendments also need a second and can be discussed in the same way. And only 2 amendments can be pending at once to avoid confusion. You can change a motion in any way you want with amendment. It just needs to be clearly phrased whenever you get up and say it, and it can be discussed in the same way as any other motion. So know your idea can come under attack. Somebody might say, we better do it on May 16th instead. Previous question. This is one of many other parliamentary tools that you can research on your own, but I find it especially handy, and whenever I teach our teen club parliamentary procedure every year, I always make sure to make mention of previous question. This motion brings the subject, whether it be a main motion, an amendment, or another motion, to a vote on the whim of the group. So you would gain chair recognition, stand up and say, I move the previous question, and the chair will call a vote on the previous question. And if there is a majority in favor, your group will stop discussing and move on. This puts the subject at hand straight to a vote, ending discussion. So if you all have been talking about something for a long time and it's like 1 or 2 people that just keep going back and forth on it, you might move the previous question in order to keep everybody productive and keep moving along. This is especially handy for nighttime meetings when you want to go to bed. Voting. Parliamentary procedure has specific rules, but there are 2 types of voting. Certain motions require a 2/3 majority. This is usually for stuff like adjourning a meeting or referring something to a committee or other more complex and serious motions, but most require 1/2 or a simple majority in order to pass, such as the main motion and the amendment. Votes can be held via voice vote, so saying aye or nay, raised hands, or a ballot vote, and you want to use a ballot vote on sensitive issues such as elections. Your chair or presiding officer team needs to be very knowledgeable on voting and parliamentary law in general, because not everybody has the stomach to read through Robert's Rules of Order or some other parliamentary book. Ending a meeting. Some organizations, FFA or FCCLA, have very specific adjournment procedures with speaking parts, but most 4-H clubs will simply entertain a motion to adjourn at the request of the chair. So you could get up and gain chair recognition and move to adjourn by yourself at any point in the meeting. But at the end, when the agenda is wrapped up, the chair may ask, is there a motion to adjourn? And you can say, so moved, which is parliamentary legal, a little informal, but legal. Somebody else will second, and the president will hold a vote, and the meeting will be adjourned with 1 tap of the gavel in the same way that it was begun. This is something you can research more and do things differently if you like. So lastly, I want to talk about parliamentary procedure in your club. I know that I just did a lightning round on some parliamentary law, and you definitely didn't absorb all of it. So you might want to look into this thing. It's called Dunbar's Abbreviated Robert's Rules of Order. It's a handbook on parley that's much less dense than Robert's. It's like 30 pages long as opposed to 400, which is a huge difference. We use that for studying for our parley team for the state. And if you buy 1 copy of this for your teen club, your president every year could be very knowledgeable on parliamentary procedure, or you might elect a parliamentarian, which is an office that some 4-H clubs use to study specifically parley so you'll be ready for your business meetings. Parley is an excellent tool to boost productivity in your meetings. If you're tired of people talking over one another or being unproductive, consider introducing maybe some UK parliamentary procedure material or some 4-H parliamentary procedure material to bring your teen club up to date, and you'll be working through stuff like there's no tomorrow. We introduced parliamentary procedure into our teen club 3 years ago, and we've gone on several trips across the state and the country. We've become immensely more productive, and our meetings are always pretty good compared to what they used to be. Your local extension office should have all the materials you need, such as gavels and flags for your pledges, as well as paper to print out agendas, and even access to the 4-H mall to purchase specific materials for your meetings. And if your 4-H agent doesn't have much experience in Parley Pro, which is fine, consider consulting your local FFA advisor, as they likely have a parliamentary procedure team and will be able to help you all out. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it was very dense. Thank you once again to Dr. Noble for providing this opportunity for me to teach you all this. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at lwoodrumky4h@gmail.com. I'll see you all around.